In a small crumbling house on the edge of the city lived Daniel and his daughter Emily. They had nothing but each other. Every night Daniel worked late shifts struggling to put food on the table. Emily, despite the hunger, would always smile and say, "One day Dad will have more than enough." But deep inside, Daniel feared that day would never come. Weeks later, Daniel was summoned to court. A powerful businessman accused him of theft, an accusation Daniel swore was false. The courtroom was filled with whispers, and Emily sat quietly in the back clutching her worn-out teddy bear. The judge's gavel echoed as Daniel realized this trial could decide the rest of his life. Just when hope seemed lost, a young lawyer named Sarah stepped forward. She had been following Daniel's case and believed in his innocence. With determination in her eyes, she promised, "I'll fight for you, Daniel." No man should be crushed by lies. For the first time in years, Daniel felt a spark of hope. The trial turned into a battlefield. The businessman's lawyers attacked Daniel with accusations, twisting every detail of his past. But Sarah stood firm, presenting evidence that revealed cracks in the businessman's story. Each time she spoke, the courtroom grew silent, and Emily's little hands gripped her teddy bear tighter, whispering, "We can win, Daddy, we can win." As Sarah presented her arguments, inconsistencies in the businessman's testimony began to surface. Documents that once seemed flawless now looked suspicious. The jury leaned forward, curious, while Daniel's heart pounded. For the first time, it felt like the truth had a chance to breathe. But the businessman was not ready to lose. He slammed the table, his lawyers shouting louder than ever, painting Daniel as a desperate thief. The room filled with tension, and for a moment Daniel felt the walls closing in again. Emily buried her face in her teddy bear, whispering through tears, "Don't give up, Daddy." In that storm of accusations, Sarah made a bold move. She revealed a hidden ledger, secret records that exposed the businessman's corruption. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. The businessman's face turned pale, his arrogance replaced by panic. For the first time, Daniel lifted his head, hope shining in his tired eyes. The judge pounded his gavel, demanding order. The courtroom was no longer on the businessman's side. Whispers turned against him. Sarah's voice rang with confidence, declaring Daniel's innocence. In that moment, Emily's small hands clapped together silently, her eyes glowing with belief. Maybe, just maybe, they were about to win. As the trial neared its end, both sides prepared their final arguments. The businessman's lawyers clung to the last scraps of their case, but Sarah stood tall. With steady words, she spoke of Daniel's honesty, his struggles, and the truth the documents revealed. Every eye in the courtroom followed her, every word cutting deeper into the lies. The courtroom grew silent as the judge prepared to deliver his verdict. Daniel's breath was shallow. Emily's little hands gripped his arm, and Sarah's eyes never wavered. In those long seconds, time itself seemed frozen. One sentence from the judge would decide everything: freedom or ruin. The judge's gavel struck. "Daniel is found not guilty." The words echoed like thunder. Emily cried out with joy, leaping into her father's arms. Daniel's tears finally fell. The weight of years lifted from his shoulders. The businessman froze in disbelief, his empire of lies crumbling before the world. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, but Daniel held Emily's hand tightly, shielding her from the chaos. Sarah walked beside them, promising to help rebuild their lives. For the first time, Daniel felt the future was not a dark tunnel, but an open road filled with light. The journey from poverty to hope had just begun. Though Daniel was free, life was far from easy. The trial had drained his savings, and rebuilding seemed impossible. Yet each morning he rose early, determined to provide for Emily. Sarah encouraged him to use his sharp mind for something new. Hope was fragile, but it was alive. One evening, as Daniel sketched plans in his notebook, inspiration struck. He remembered his late father's carpentry skills and the demand for handcrafted furniture. With Sarah's help, he borrowed a small loan and turned their tiny garage into a workshop. It was the first spark of a brighter tomorrow. Days turned into nights as Daniel poured his heart into the work. Emily painted small decorations, and Sarah handled customers. Slowly, neighbors began to notice the beauty of his craft. What started with a single chair grew into a steady stream of orders. The family's hands built not just furniture, but a future. Months later, Daniel delivered a custom table to a wealthy client. The payment was more than he had ever dreamed of. For the first time, he returned home with enough money to fill their pantry, repair the roof, and buy Emily a brand new dress. Poverty no longer chained them. It was the dawn of prosperity. Word spread quickly. Daniel's handcrafted furniture became a symbol of quality, and orders flooded in from neighboring towns. He hired workers, expanded into a proper workshop, and taught them the values of honesty and hard work. For the first time in years, laughter filled their home every night. Months later, Daniel was invited to a city exhibition. His furniture stood alongside the finest brands, yet it was his story that captured hearts. Reporters wrote of the man who rose from poverty to success with integrity. For Emily, seeing her father on stage was proof that dreams could come true. With success came stability. Daniel bought a modest but beautiful home where Emily finally had her own room filled with books and toys. Gone were the nights of hunger and fear. In their place came warmth, safety, and the comfort of knowing that tomorrow would always be brighter. Years later, Daniel's business flourished, but he never forgot where he came from. He used his wealth to help other struggling families, funding schools and shelters. True wealth, he realized, was not measured by gold or possessions, but by the lives he touched and the love he shared with Emily and Sarah.